Hello everybody and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we're doing a box office preview for this upcoming weekend, which sees the re-release of Titanic expected to... I know, River. I know she's very excited about Titanic getting re-released after 25 years. I'm sure most of the showings will be in 3D because that's what James Cameron's obsession is all about. But it will not be able to, at least according to these early numbers, beat the new release of Magic Mike's Last Dance. That's right, indeed. We have Steven Soderbergh returning once again as the director of a Magic Mike movie. Let's see if he's able to capture the same magic as the first Magic Mike that was then lost in Magic Mike, what was it, XXL or something to that effect. Anyway, so we have that. We also have the second weekend of numbers for 80 for Brady and also Knock at the Cabin. Knock at the Cabin's numbers looking like they're dropping off very, very high, whereas 80 for Brady is actually looking to stay around in the top three, continuing to keep Avatar actually out of the top three, though Avatar is absolutely going to be on the edge of possibly being able to break once back into that top three numbers. Before any further, though, please make sure you smash that like button, that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey, smash the rumble button, or River is going to try to bark in your face. And so make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with the bell notification on. That way you know every time video or live stream goes live on the channel. So, of course, the number one film expected to be this weekend is Magic Mike's Last Dance. That's right, indeed. We have another Magic Mike movie expected to be the last of the Magic Mike movies, based off of the name, of course. This film is expected to open around 2,000 screens and expected to make around $12 million. So a pretty decent opening for this movie. Though, of course, we'll do a full box office breakdown once we actually are looking at the box office totals for the weekend, including domestic and international numbers, and also comparing that to the film's budget. Titanic, though, is definitely one of the more impressive films to be released this weekend because it is getting a re-release after 25 years and is going to be in the top three movies of the weekend. So there's definitely no way of really being able to say otherwise. That is just impressive. After 25 years, it is still a top three film. 8.2 million obviously is not all that much, but in comparison to everything else that is out right now, the fact that it is beating films like 80 for Brady and Puss in Boots, and actually no, Puss in Boots, that's not fair because that film's been out for as long as Avatar Way of Water has been, but films like Knock at the Cabin, which again is in its second week of release, it says a lot about the modern age and modern content that we're getting in our actual films. And so Titanic expected to make $8.2 million with a limited release, so a pretty good per theater ratio there. 80 for Brady, though, expected to drop 46% in its second week of release. Expected to make another $6.8 million, bringing its total domestic to 25.2. Apparently, this film is resonating with a certain demographic of audience because it is indeed going to be in the top three, just expected to barely beat Avatar Way of Water, which is projected to make another $6.7 million. And this film is slowing down quite a bit. As you all know, I've been following the numbers as far as the domestic, really the domestic battle going on between Avatar Way of Water and that of Top Gun Maverick. And as you can see, based on the numbers, all we have right now are the Tuesday estimates. And as you can see also, and I mentioned this on the live stream on Tuesday, this is the first time that Avatar has gone below $1 million on a daily performance, and not just below $1 million. It went below $1 million by around $300,000. It took an extra like 2 or 3 weeks for Top Gun Maverick to actually get even to this number. And it took an extra like couple weeks in order for the film to actually have gotten below $1 million. And so I think that this is absolutely showing that this film is slowing down domestically. Once you throw in a bit of competition into the mix, obviously you have more options for people to go see movies. You already obviously have the people that are going to see the film Avatar Way of Water 1,000 times, and those people are continuing to drive numbers to the movies. And you have probably a few people who have not yet seen the film. At this point, again, it's been out for a long time, so most people who have wanted to go see the film have probably seen it, and so I would expect that the vast majority of the money coming in is probably from people going to see it multiple times over for those that actually enjoy it. But that, of course, makes me ask the question, is the film going to be able to have enough in the tank to push it to $700 million? And right now, based off of the numbers, and the fact that it's making under $1 million, typically you start to see these numbers when the film is getting ready to be pulled from theaters or is getting very close to the end of the run. What's interesting is, of course, that when you look at Avatar: The Way of Water versus that of Top Gun Maverick, again, this charting from the numbers only goes 10 weeks out. But if you go to Box Office Mojo, they actually have it further out than that. And as you can see, this film ended after 10 weeks at $655 million, and again, making $1.2 million still on a Thursday. Whereas for as for Avatar Way of Water, the fact that even after, just 8 weeks out, it's dropping below $1 million a day, that is going to be a very interesting thing to follow. Right now, of course, this film still does have the edge at $638.6 million versus Top Gun Maverick 622. But let's just go ahead and wait and see exactly what that looks like, especially after this weekend, right? So this weekend, if we do a little bit of a comparison right here, Top Gun Maverick at the same point in its release made about 6, so let's round that up to 7, made about another $10+ million, a little over $10 million at the box office, so it's going to get another $4 million or so edge on this movie, continuing also to get those edges on those day-to-day numbers, so I would expect probably in a couple weeks, we'll probably see these films get evened out. The big question, of course, is going to be whether or not Avatar Way of Water gets to $700 million, and if it does get to $700 million domestically, will it be able to get that much higher to be able to beat or match that of the $718 million that was made by Top Gun Maverick. Coming in at some of the other spots below that, so again, Avatar Way of Water, $6.7 million there. Puss in Boots, I actually got to see this movie last night. I will say that there are a lot of really good things about the movie. I think the action sequences actually actually worked very well. I was very surprised by that, as I did not like the animation style in general, but I thought it worked for what the movie was trying to go for, and luckily that was not the animation style for the entirety of the film. So I can absolutely understand why this film is doing as well as it is doing, though I will say that this movie is definitely still geared towards a younger audience. There's sometimes those animated films that can appeal to all different audiences consistently. This one had moments where I was like, okay, that's a really good message, that's a really good story. There are other times that I was basically bored by the film. It actually at one point put me to sleep. So again, in general, I might do a full review of this film. If I had to give an initial review, I'd say I'd probably give it a B-. Again, it's fine, but I just don't think there's a lot of rewatchability, at least for me, when it comes to this movie. And but even regardless of any of that, I can understand why the film is still doing as well as it is. Expected to have a 29% drop even after so many weeks out in the box office. Knock at the Cabin, though, in its second week of release, expected to drop 62%. That's because the film really just isn't all that good. There's no real twist to the movie. Everything that you get in the trailer is basically what you get in the actual movie itself. And it's very uninspired. It's like, okay, it's an end-of-the-world movie that has a very straight end-of-the-world premise, so we can guess where this is probably going to go, and either of the directions that the characters are going to be able to go. Either they're going to choose to sacrifice someone, or they're not going to choose to sacrifice someone, and either way, it's going to end the way that it is expected to. And so it's just, again, a bit silly and a bit ridiculous, and yet again, another real terrible film from M. Night Shyamalan, and it's just really sad to see that he, had, again, a moment of glory coming back. It seemed like he had a moment of glory coming back with that of his release of Split several years ago. But he really hasn't been able to pick up the pace ever since then. Then you have A Man Called Otto continuing to hang around as well. Megan continuing to hang around as well. Looking like, again, $100 million still in the, still on the cards for this movie, but of course, time is running out as far as its release is concerned. Missing, which again, ripoff of the previous film Searching, and also Plane, not doing much domestically, not doing that much internationally. That was really where the film possibly could have gotten some saving grace, but it's not looking like the international audience is showing up for Plane in enough of a degree to be able to make its money back. But we will have a full breakdown of where that film is by the end of the weekend for the weekend box office breakdown on Sunday, and also, of course, where Magic Mike's Last Dance compares to the other films in its release, and also where these other films end up in the charts. And we will also have a fuller breakdown of the Avatar Way of Water versus Top Gun Maverick domestic box office. And you want a fuller breakdown of that, check out my previous live stream from Tuesday of this week, where I actually show you the numbers on Box Office Mojo, showing you where exactly was the point that Top Gun Maverick got to the same level that Titanic basically is a Titanic, but just not as good. Avatar Way of Water got to that same point in its own release. And so let me know your own thoughts about this. Are you surprised that Titanic is doing as well as it is? Interesting, though, of course, this is a Paramount Pictures release. I went ahead and looked into it, that the production of the film actually was a Paramount 20th Century Fox, again, dual billing there. So I'm wondering if Disney is going to be getting any of the residuals from this, even though Paramount is the sole distributor of the movie. So I don't know if that's going to mean that it's going to get the vast majority of the profits, seeing that I imagine this thing is pretty cheap to put out there into theaters because it's been out for so long. And ultimately, this is the kind of movie that tends to be much better for theaters, because newer releases, you tend to get much more money going back to the studio, whereas older releases tend to get a little bit more money going to the actual theater themselves. And as we can tell from AMC changing their recent ticket prices and all that stuff, it seems that the theaters are probably going through a lot of struggles, even with films like Avatar Way of Water making a lot of money. And so what are y'all's thoughts about this? Let me know in the comment section down below. Are you planning on going to see Magic Mike's Last Dance? I never saw the second one. The first one was actually a pretty well-made movie. Again, it was a Steven Soderbergh film, so it was a lot more than just, male dancing, for lack of a better expression. Never saw the second one because Steven Soderbergh was not attached to it, and so it just looked like real crappy nonsense. But this one, Steven Soderbergh is back, and so, hey, who knows? Maybe it will have a little bit more than what the second one seemed to have. And, maybe I'll go see this one tonight. I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. Also, I'm still waiting to see if MoviePass works, because I tried doing it last night. And apparently you cannot use your MoviePass to check in and then buy a ticket on the AMC app or anything like that. You have to be at the theater and probably buy from the actual kiosk itself, though I wasn't able to test this out because when I was trying to use my AMC Stubs card to be able to get some points on the purchase of the ticket, it ended up paying for the ticket because of the fact I am on the AMC A-list. And so yeah, it is what it is there, but I'll, of course, get back to y'all as soon as I can, and maybe there'll be a decent showing at another theater, non-AMC theater, that I can go and check out and see if MoviePass will actually work for as far as Magic Mike is concerned. But let me know your thoughts about this and anything else I mentioned in the comment section down below. If you like this video, smash that like button, like that fire button, and honestly, smash the rumble button as well. Check out the pinned comment if you want to vote in this year's Wednesday Raven Awards for the best and worst of 2022. You're all great, amazing people. Have a wonderful day today, and as always, God bless. And now for a huge special shout out to all of my Patreon, locals, and Subscribe Star members who are at the Keeper the Bifrost level and above, starting off with Father Luca Illick, Garrett Searles, Chris from the 80s, who you can check out over on YouTube by the same name, Hymir Irie Hymason, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Orange Hat Reviews, you can check out at his YouTube channel by the same name as well, Laura, the Modern Major General Story, Rosetta Allen, who you can check out at her YouTube channel, Eagle Rider, and Miss Martin Muses, which goes by the same name on YouTube. Thank you all very much for supporting me over on Patreon. And also for my Subscribe Star peeps, we got Matt317. Check out his Twitch channel by the same name. Fast Reaction, Mr. Roy, J-Rod the Beer Guru, and ZK-Man, who you can check out over at xtheboundaries.co. And also lastly to my locals members, starting off with Miss Minnesota Hockey Fan, How About a Hockey Player, J.H. Schwalbach, Brett D90, and the amazing lawyer Robert Barnes. Thank you all very much for supporting me for the month of February. You guys are all fantastic. If you want your name shouted out, access to exclusive podcasts, and exclusive giveaways, check out the top link in the video description below. Anyway, you guys are all great. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. And as always, God bless.